Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 73. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Janet Kafadar. Janet is a signature program specialist and online business cheerleader who helps service providers package their knowledge, expertise, and brilliance to create fabulous signature online programs and products to give them more time, more money, and to live a lifestyle that rocks. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you talk today about signature programs.
That's good. I'm pleased to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to be this expert on signature program creation.
Yeah, sure. So I first started out, I had my first online business, which was working as a virtual assistant, which was good. It was okay, but I ran into so many struggles with it because I was working like around the clock. I had a very small son at the time. He was about 3 months old, and that was kind of the point at which my VA business was kind of taking off. So as you can probably imagine, a 3-month-old baby, demanding clients, all of that kind of stuff just wasn't working very well. And so I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to have to take a back seat and really focus in on what I want to do. In the end, I had to go to sleep school with my son to sort out his sleep, to sort out my own sleep. I ended up suffering with really bad postnatal depression as a result of it. And I just wasn't taking care of myself as a new mother should do. Really affecting my relationship with my husband as well. So I thought, actually, you know what? I really do want to work around my family and create a business that I'm really passionate about, but gives me that flexibility so that I'm not kind of having to trade, the dollars for hours type of work. And that's what was really getting me. So I decided to pack it all in, and I said goodbye to my clients. A lot of my friends and I said, "You're crazy. What are you doing? Why are you stopping?" I was like, "I can't keep working like this." So after I decided to stop, I really took a headfirst dive into the online business world and kind of really wrapping my head around it and everything that I need to do and how it all hangs together. Because I had an idea before, but my knowledge wasn't as in depth as it could have been. So once I kind of dived in head first, then there's so many training programs and courses and information products that you could buy, and I did a huge amount of them.
Haven't we all?
That's it. But what I was finding is that I was kind of doing the programs and thinking, "Oh, that's not right." It's awful. You can't present like that. Oh my goodness. And I was being really critical. So prior to having my son, and one of the first jobs that I had when I first moved out to here in Australia was working for a management consultancy, and I helped them. Worked in a team of amazing women, probably about 10 of us, 10 women, creating learning and development programs for the Australian public service, mostly. So the Department of Defence, the Securities Agency, which is like equivalent of CIA or something in America, and developing, leadership programs, performance development programs, management training programs. It was great. So all of that kind of stuff. So that's where my real knowledge of creating standout programs that people can learn from, that they can take action with, really came about. And so I kind of took all of that, packaged my own knowledge and expertise, and really delved into, what I like to do, and realized actually there's such a huge gap in the market, in the online space, between, yes, create a product or program to obviously leverage your time, leverage your income, but I didn't feel that there was enough information about taking it from idea to actually, how the hell do you hang it all together?
And
What do you do?
I think that's so important because, we all hear, if you've got an online business, you've got to break away from the one-to-one client sessions and create your signature program. And, it's the best way to leverage your time. And we all get this advice, of course. But I think so few people actually have the experience with setting up a program that's, unique and coherent and walks people through, a process that makes sense. And it can be really, really confusing to people.
It is. I find that even with my clients, some of my clients have got 10, 15, 25, 30 years of knowledge and experience about a certain topic. And so suddenly you're having to, they may be working one-on-one with their clients, but suddenly they're having to actually document that and put it into a process to teach someone else, and that's actually really challenging. And that's where they really get stuck. So, and it's not as hard as some people may think it is. But yes, you can kind of chuck a few things together, put them into a slide deck or something like that. But if you really want to create something that's standout, that people can learn from, that they can learn from on the worst day of their life, really recall that information, then there are things that you need to do to be able to do that. And I think that there's just that disconnect sometimes, and that's why I was really adamant on putting out a free offer to people so that they can actually use it straight away, and that they have it at their fingertips. Be like, okay, right, these are the things that I need to be thinking about.
So tell us a little bit about your free offer. It's called How to Create Your Online Course.
Yeah, that's right. How to create your signature online program. And it's just a workbook that walks you through 6 steps to be able to do so. And it's a workbook, so it's there for you to use and to participate in, and it walks you through the steps, and you can actually use it as it is, and there's space in there to actually go crazy and do your own, brainstorm your own ideas in there. Yeah, so it's really helpful, and people have been really enjoying it, which that's the reason why I created it. So yeah.
So what are some of the top questions that you get from people that are just, don't even know where to start with their online program?
So a lot of the time, when people come to me, they're normally feeling like, can I do this? Is this the right thing for me? I feel really stupid. And normally I'm like, no, you're not at all, because it's uncomfortable when you're jumping into something that's totally new and it's not within your own comfort zone. So most of the time I get when my clients come to me, or questions that I get asked is actually all about tech, which is really funny.
Not the content, just the tech.
Just the tech part of things.
Yeah.
And I really do need to kind of bring it back a bit and say, okay, yes, that is something that we need to address at some point. But for the time being, I feel that the content and the structure and the outline of your program really drives how you want it delivered. So then the tech side of things really comes afterwards. But I think once you have a solid structure and a solid outline in place, then you can really start thinking about the modality of it and think, all right, okay, will this be better as a home study? If I provide all the content up front, and then they can work through it, and then we can have, calls or anything like that along the way. So really thinking about those things really, really helps.
Now, are you a fan of selling the product before you create it, and at least just having a skeleton, but not actually going through the whole process of creating the entire thing?
Yeah, I am actually. I think that that's a really good idea. I think once you have a really solid structure and a solid outline in place, and you don't need to have the content delivered or don't need to have the content fully completed already, because it's not necessary if it's just like a beta program, when you're running for the first time. But once you have a solid outline, I think it really helps and you have like a couple of people or maybe 5 or 6 people that you're working with, and obviously they know that it's just a test run of your program, then it helps to, exactly what you're going to be talking about, because you already know what you're talking about anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're having to whip something up and start learning something afresh. So I think it's a really great starting point, and I do tell my clients to do that. If they're kind of first starting out, test the water, see whether it resonates with their clients or their audience, take bits out. And I think it's great to do it that way. I know that some people say, oh no, don't do that. But I always say, just start. Have a starting point, and you can always move on from there.
I agree. And plus it gives you a deadline, because otherwise, if you've got an 8-week course or an 8-module course, you could take forever to put that thing together. But if you've sold 10 places on that course and you know that module 1 has to be ready in a month, you're going to get that thing done. And then you're going to hustle to get modules 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 done.
That's right. That's so true. Have a deadline. Have something to work towards. Sometimes when my clients come to me, they're like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about this idea for a year. I'm like, a year? Oh my God. We need to get to work. Like, that is too long. So, and it does take some time to kind of work out what you can say and how you can do it. But I do think, set a deadline and say, okay, right, by January 31st, say, is going to be out there. And I have to have my sales page going up. Even if you don't have a sales page, it doesn't even need to be like that. If you've got a couple of people, if you've got people on your email list, just email them. Just say, hey, this is what I've got going on. I think sometimes it's easy to try and overcomplicate the situation. Say, all right, I need to have a sales page up. I need to have it up in a membership area. I need to do it like this. I just think, no, just keep it simple. If it comes down to it, and you've got, 5, 6 people, 10 people running through that program with you, you can just use your email provider and host your videos with Vimeo or something like that. Just keep it simple. Or even if you've got MailChimp, you can embed the videos right inside the emails. It's just keep it simple. Don't try and overcomplicate it. The best thing is just to get momentum and keep creating it and keep asking questions and understanding what your audience and what your customers really want.
Now, I imagine there are some people who come to you and say, I'm a life coach or a holistic therapist or something, and there's no way I can package my thing into a signature program. I've got to work one-to-one with people. So what do you say to people who come to you with this idea?
I normally say, they normally come with lots of ideas. Or one idea that's has about 17 different arms under it. So I say, just focus in on one problem, just the solution to one problem, and then you can go from there, because you can't actually package every single thing that because it's just too much. Yeah, it's overwhelming, and you probably just won't get anywhere very fast. Running on a treadmill trying to really create something like that. So I normally say to my clients, okay, what do your clients always come to you? What's the problem they always come to you about? What do they ask you all the time? What's driving them crazy? Maybe it's something, they might be a life coach, but maybe they focus on money mindset or something like that. And I say, well, is there some sort of training that you can do, or audio training or something like that? Create a series of MP3s that could really help them out. So just because it may sound smaller and it doesn't encompass everything that they do, but you're focusing in on just one area and focusing on one solution to that problem. And I think that's the best way to start. And then over time, as you build more products or find out more about the problems that your clients are having, then you can build lots of different products. And then eventually maybe it may mold into one bigger holistic program or course or membership site or something like that. But just start there, solving those problems, and then that will help you to free up your time a little bit more. I found that people are always asking me the same thing, like, how do I structure it? What do I say? I've got this idea, like, how do I put it together? And what modules do I need? So that's why I just created the workbook. It's like, this is a really great place for you to start.
Excellent.
And then, that's kind of like your entry level to working with me, is that I require my clients to at least have been through the workbook. So then we have a great starting point, and I know that they've given it a really good go, and then we can start from there.
Excellent. So you're not starting from absolute stage one.
That's right. I need, because it just doesn't work. I need them to at least have done the research and kind of have an understanding of what they want to create. They don't have to have a final idea, but at least have done the research into finding out what their clients want and what their audience wants from them.
Excellent. So Janet, what would you say are your top tips for how to create a signature program?
Yeah, so I would always say focus on the outcomes. Focus on the outcome to that problem. How are they going to feel at the end? Are they going to feel, what results are they going to get? And those things that you map out can also be defined as your learning objectives, the things that they will learn during the program. So once you focus on the outcome of the end result, the solution or they'll achieve, then you can map out exactly the steps at which they need to get, or what you need to teach them, what they need to learn, what they need to understand to be able to get to that end result. I think that's a really good starting point and a really good way to think, all right, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to think about. And it can get quite, it can be a bit of a runaway train sometimes. You think, all right, okay, well, I'll include this and I'll include that bit. Like, oh, no, maybe let's pull it back a little bit. But that's definitely one of my top tips, because once you get really clear on exactly what they're going to get at the end, then it's like a door opens up. You're like, oh, yeah, I don't need to include those 101 things that I was thinking about in the first place. So, yeah, get really clear on what the outcome is. What I like to do with my clients, and sometimes we do our calls via phone, and because it's spring here, and this might be a bit, woo-woo, I don't know.
I'm totally woo-woo, so go ahead.
That's good. I know your audience are too, so they'll get it. So I'll take my shoes off. I normally use my phone to do our Skype calls, and I'll just walk in the grass, and I'll actually say to my clients, okay, right, we need to walk together. So I want you to take the steps in which your clients will need to get to that end result. I normally like to put a bucket or a big thing at the end of the garden, and that's where we're walking towards that's the end result there.
Excellent.
And so let's walk together. It sometimes helps me, because obviously I'm not, I don't have a vast in-depth knowledge about their industry, but it helps me to kind of really get into the spirit and the body of the course or the program that we're creating together. So yeah, I think that really, really helps. So definitely think about the outcome.
Excellent.
What else would be another top tip would be to make sure that you really reinforce your message and the learning during the course or product or whatever it is. Make sure at the beginning of each module you say, this is what we're going to be learning. Really setting up the expectation, because you don't want people to kind of get there, I saw this, I couldn't believe it. When I was kind of going through my learning research phase, I saw so many people kind of just, even if it was just a webinar, the webinar say what it is, and then the person will do their intro, and then they'll dive straight into the content. I'm like, what am I learning? And I would lose interest.
What can I expect?
Away.
What's going on here?
That's right. And I know it's so easy for us to kind of get caught up in the adrenaline and the moment of it, but still always think about your audience and your clients and your customers, and making sure that you're creating things for them. You're always thinking about them. It's never about us, as much as we'd like it to be, but it's not about us at all. It's all about them. So make sure that you at the beginning say what they're going to be learning, setting up the expectation. And then at the end of, if you've done a tutorial or something like that, at the end, say what you've covered. And that really helps to reinforce that. And then from there, get them to do something, take action, whether it's share insights or whether it's to go and do something, read an article. It's kind of like that school process, where the teacher would stand up at the front of the classroom and then she would say, okay, right. Now she taught everything once, and then she'd say, okay, right, look at your worksheet. I want you to go through the questions and answer these. I want you to work in pairs. It's that kind of thing. I always say to my clients that think about when you're in school. And think about the best teacher you had, or the best subject that you really enjoyed, and think about the things that helped you to learn during your school time. Was it the teacher's approach to how she delivered the information? Was she maybe hard-nosed, or he even, or very gentle? How did they infuse humor into the class? All of those types of things. Was there a lot of practical work that you did, for a lot of theory? And I would say try and take those elements from your best teacher or best subject and try and infuse those into your course or program, especially if it's like an online, like a big course or something like that. It's always good. Because you can take those best elements and try and infuse them, because there are so many different ways in which people learn.
Yes.
But once you it's amazing.
So now, as you said, so many people have different preferred learning modalities. They're visual, they're auditory, they're kinesthetic. So how do you recommend that people looking to create an online program kind of tap into each of these different modalities and try to appeal to different types of learners?
Yeah, so it's so hard. But I think really understanding your audience is such a great starting point. So I've just finished doing a training for an additional resource to a training center. And I know that the people in that audience are all very visual. So it's because the overarching program is all about branding and branding images and all of that stuff. So I know that the people that are in there, very visual. They're like gorgeous pictures, all of that kind of stuff. So I had to change my normal training materials. I've got my standard ones that I always use, but I had to change them up, use brighter colors, use lots of images. And so I know that they will, and lots of slides. So I know that type of audience will really resonate with that, and they'll probably be able to walk away understanding what I've taught. So that's what I say to my clients, really get to understand who they are. Yes, you can't appeal to every single one of them because there might be lots of different learning styles. But if you acknowledge the large majority, but also during your training, also letting people know that, okay, yes, letting them know at the beginning or at the end, yes, there'll be extra resources, because some people like to have lots of resources. There'll be extra resources for you at the end, and really acknowledging the different types of personality traits that might be in the room. On the training, I'm thinking about in the room as well. When I used to deliver training programs. So we would always have to try and address, there would always be the type of person that wants to know all the information up front, but obviously you couldn't do that because, it's maybe a 3-day residential program where you really need to learn everything step by step and it builds on itself. Really saying, okay, right, yep, understand that you want to know everything right now, but there will be periods in which you can break off and digest that information on its own, and really being there to understand those different types of personality traits. So just acknowledging them really helps. It really does help. It doesn't make them feel so like, ugh, she's not thinking about me,
or just totally not getting the content because it's delivered in a way that just they don't get.
That's right. Or if the audience is, if you have a lot of data, or lots of statistics or something like that, it was very mathematical, then that kind of audience are not going to respond well to visual images.
Yeah.
Lots of visual images, like they're
Too
just
abstract.
not going to get it. That's right. They're not going to get it. Like it's that kind of thing, really understand who they are, and then you can take it from there.
That's I think that really, really good point. So Janet, how can other women in business benefit from working with you? You've got a couple of different offerings.
Yeah, they can. Actually, I'm just putting together a new offering because I realized that my audience don't necessarily want a big coaching program or a course or anything like that. Like, they wanted results and get the program out of their head like yesterday. So I'm putting together a new offering, which is a 90-minute course design jumpstart session.
Ooh.
To really help people get their idea out of their head, get it structured and outlined. And as we actually just talked about earlier, to really help them, even if they want to do a beta run of their program, at least they'll have the real structure and foundations in place to be able to do that. So that's what we'll run through during the 90 minutes, and then we'll talk about pricing and how they want to deliver it as well. So yeah, that's a new offering that I have at the moment, which I'm really excited about, because I think it'll be so beneficial for people.
Yeah.
I think it will really help them just to get that, one-on-one time, because a lot of the questions that I get asked are like, oh my goodness, how do I start? Or I don't know what I should be thinking about. I've got like 6 million ideas. How do I choose which one? Questions like that. So, and I totally get it. I totally understand. So I want to be there to help people a lot more and just have that one-on-one time with me.
And of course, they should start out by downloading your free workbook.
Yeah, start out by downloading the workbook, go through it. Even if you do just a couple of the steps, at least give it a really good go, and then let's see where you are once you've finished. And if you're still kind of like, it's not coming together, then just reach out to me. Of course,
Excellent.
Drop me an email, or the offer will be up on the website soon, so from next week.
Excellent. Okay, good. So, Janet, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Yeah, I do actually have a few mentors. I really like Elizabeth Purvis. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the year, I did one of her programs, Get Clients in 30 Days. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't really jump into the training as much as a lot of audio, and I found myself getting very distracted. This is also another tip. Mm-hmm. The audio was too long for me to concentrate, so some of the trainings were 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So, and there were a lot of worksheets and everything, but it was just too much for me to process. Like, I just couldn't. I got very distracted. So that's another thing. If you're doing live sessions within your program, please don't make them so long, because you really, really will lose people. Yeah. And I don't think I got kind of as much of a benefit out of it as I could have done. But even at that stage, I hadn't really truly defined who it was that I wanted to work with. So it didn't come in as useful at the time. But I have delved back into it again once I got my business all up and running. And it's been fantastic. And I think she's a really great mentor. And even down to her team, I had someone follow up with me in her team, sent me an email to say, hey, how you going? Would you like to jump on a call? Let's have a chat and see whereabouts you are. And I just thought, Oh, actually, that's really nice. And it wasn't, and we had a chat and everything. It wasn't a sales call or anything. She just wanted to see how I was going. And I thought, actually, she really cares.
Yeah.
It was really nice. It actually made me feel really good to know that, yes, okay, I am actually part of that community, and they really do care about their audience. And what it makes me, even more love them even more is they don't actually have a website. It's so funny. They have an online business, and I think they just have a landing page.
Ooh.
That's it. I think they do the rest of their selling and reaching people through their emails and how else? Probably through Facebook ads, I would assume, and maybe workshops or something along that line. But I always provide them as an example to my clients and think, hey, look, I'm sure this is like a 7-figure business and they don't have a website. You don't need to worry about that stuff. Don't get caught up in thinking that you need to have everything perfect. When I first started, I think I had my homepage was my website. It had my email address on it, and that was it. You just start somewhere. So Elizabeth Purvis is definitely one of my mentors and someone that I look up to. I do love what she does. Who else do I look up to? Marie Forleo. I think a lot of people do. I'm part of the B School community as well. But yeah, I do love what both of those. They're both obviously very different styles. But those are the two types of people. I think those are very much, both of them are my personality traits. So I think that's why I probably resonate with them the most.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Janet, where can people find you online if they want to check you out?
Yeah, you can head on over to janetkafadar.com. That's Kafadar. And you can find me there. You can venture over to my blog post, check out my offerings, check out my workbook as well, which will be there for you to download, and dive on into the workbook and let me know how you go. Like, I really do love hearing how people go with it. People have really been able to take action with just the workbook on its own, which is great, which is what I want. So yeah, do let me know how you go. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'm here to help you out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP73 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.